What's up, guys? You're watching Fight Feed. My name is Jake. I'm going to be going through all of the picks that I made for UFC 299 and also giving a review reaction to this fight card overall. Go ahead and click the links below if you're trying to see just my reaction to each individual fight, and let's get into it. So on this fight night, I believe I went 11-2 on my picks. I believe there's 13 fights overall, and like I said, I got 11 of my picks correct, 2 wrong. Very, very happy with my picks and where things landed. Looking back on it, obviously hindsight is 2020. Couple picks that I didn't get right. I wish I would have seen kind of that happening, but it is what it is. First fight, we have Joanne Wood versus Marina Moroz. Now, I did not know until I was watching, UFC Embedded the past week, that Joanne Wood was going to be retiring after this fight. Had I have known that, I might have changed or thought differently about my pick for Marina beating her. Mainly just that I think Joanne had a lot more to fight for in this fight, given that she knew she was going to be retiring. I thought that she was not going to get the job done just because Marina's had a very strong grappling prowess in her past. She's also beaten Joanne Wood in the past. And Joanne Wood's getting up there in age, right? She's 38. So I did not think that she was going to find the win. Now, before I knew she was going to be retiring. With her retiring, she has a lot more there, knowing that she's going to have her last fight, wanting to get the job done decisively. I think it was a close fight overall. Marina looked strong out of the gates, but Joanne Wood just had more fuel in her to get that job done and got the decision win. And props to her. So right off the bat, I have a loss there. But jumping into the next fight, CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabayev. I said that Asu Almabayev would win. I think this fight was pretty lackluster, if you ask me. There were a few submission attempts. CJ Vergara, I feel like he has the tools to get big wins. But in this case, I think he was just outmatched from a grappling perspective. CJ landed some good shots, and I was a little bit worried just knowing that I had picked the other guy. But Asu Almabayev found the win and was, ultimately kind of able to keep him at bay with strikes. He had landed some good strikes of his own. The grappling of Asu Almabayev is really what got him the win, which I think most people chose him for. So right there, now I'm 1-1. Next fight, Robelis Despain versus Josh Parisian. I said I fuck with Parisian. I've seen a lot of other creators and people just saying bad things about him. Definitely think, in the heavyweight division, he is, well matched with some of the other, people in the heavyweight division in terms of skill, size, things of that nature. But against Despain, it was just a total mismatch. Obviously, Robelis has never been in the UFC, but knowing that he is a brick shithouse, 6'7" Cuban who throws with bad intentions, clearly very skilled too. Looking at his overall accolades, I think he was in the 2012 Olympics for kickboxing or something like that. Very, very good athlete, and just gonna be a problem to deal with, I think, in this heavyweight division. I saw some different things online saying when I saw that he had an 87-inch reach online and just saw like he was Cuban. I look at Yoel Romero, they're machines, right, as Joe Rogan says. So I saw that, and I'm like, this dude's he's gonna be a problem. So I thought that he would win this fight. Now, I was seeing back and forth stuff, though, because he's 87-inch reach online, but 84-inch reach on the tail of the tape. Who knows what it actually is? Regardless, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this heavyweight division, and I chose him to win. And believe it or not, he's had several wins at 18 seconds. He got another win Saturday with 18 seconds into the fight. And, the thing that I struggle with, too, is, like, Parisian's had fights that he's had some back and forth fights and some wars. And I said he's impressed me. He's got, like, a spinning back fist. And for his size, he has random moments where he can move like he isn't the size he is. What really upset me, though, is Robelis throws this head kick, falls to his ass, right? And he's a big guy. So he's tall, he's big, and he's got long legs, right? So, and I have long legs myself. So if you fall down with long legs, it's going to be harder for you to kind of jump back up and get back to your feet. And he fell, and Parisian could have taken advantage of that in a lot of ways. But what he ended up doing is he straight just ran forward at him and had no defense. And I mean, if you watch it, he's like running forward. Here's his chin, right? He's just like this. No, he's just going like that. And what happens? Robelis, the seasoned striker, is just taking step back and just hits him, knocks him out. And that's all she wrote. I just wish Parisian had more defense there, or even just had the wherewithal to like understand, like not running forward right at this guy who's clearly a counter striker, clearly got power. It wasn't like he hurt him and knocked him down and was going in for the kill. Like, this dude just slipped, right? Because he threw a head kick and fell. It wasn't like Josh had hurt him. I just wish he didn't like run in like that. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I chose Rebellis, so that's good for me, I guess. Now I'm 2-1. Next fight, Michel Pereira versus Mikhail Oleszejczyk. I was a little bit worried about this one. I know I chose Michel Pereira, but Michel Pereira has had a lot of great wins. He's also had some weird losses, right? Like I had mentioned, he lost. This is back in 2019. I don't even know the guy's name, but he was a Canadian, much smaller than Michel Pereira, took the fight on short notice, beat Michel Pereira. Now, I think Michel Pereira in that fight, obviously he was 170. You have to take that into account because obviously he had a hard time making 170 and would miss weight quite a bit, most notably the Wonderboy fight that was pretty recent. So that is what it is, right? What I was worried about is that I've seen Michel Pereira have fights where he should win but didn't, right? Now at middleweight though, I just feel like he's found a league of his own in terms of this weight class and also being able to exploit some of the other talent in the middleweight division. I do think Michel Pereira is a fantastic athlete. The fact that he can dance, obviously, we all watched him dancing before his fight here. He's got the moves, he's got footwork, he's got power, right? So that power is going to be a game changer for him. Right off the bat in this fight, he's just kicking the shit out of Mikhail in the stomach and like just throwing these fucking kicks like he is trying to end this man's life. And what I was worried about is Mikhail Oleszejczyk has great boxing, so I'm like, if he can maybe clip him on the inside if they get to into the pocket and he can find that shot. But Michel Pereira didn't even give him a chance. He just kicked the fucking hell out of his stomach, and then obviously he found the win, which I'm happy about. 3-1 at this point, so I'm doing pretty solid on this fight card so far. And now that I think about it, I might have gotten less than. I got more than 2 wrong, but we'll see. We're going through the card, right? So next one, Ion Cutelaba, Felipe Lins. Felipe Lins looks like a Neanderthal. Like I don't even know how to sugarcoat it. He just looks like a Neanderthal. And yeah, I just thought this fight was pretty terrible. Like I don't know how to put it. It was just boring, and it really upset me because I had told my girlfriend, told my brother-in-law, future brother-in-law, my sister, like everyone that was doing parlays. I don't bet myself, but telling them all these details, like, hey, do this, do that. And Ion I chose, right? He didn't even do anything to win this fight. I think obviously he advanced the whole fight, which you got to appreciate. He's always there to like advance. He doesn't want to sit back and just like, play patty cake. He's trying to like do something, but at the end of the day, like I feel like at the end he was advancing, and then like when he's exchanging on the feet with Felipe doesn't really want to fight, but I feel like he was catching Ion way more than he should have been and hurting him with strikes. And that was worrisome to me. And I was like, dude, this is just like way different than what I expected. Felipe got the win, but it really was a lackluster performance for both. I was not really impressed with either man. I do want to say this, though. I respect the hell out of everybody that gets in the octagon, as I always say. I just wasn't into that fight as much as I should have been, I feel, especially it being light heavyweight. Light heavyweight's a weight class where you should have fireworks most of the time, right? And that one just wasn't it. So our next one, Pedro Munoz, Kyler Phillips, the Matrix, man. This guy, Kyler Phillips, I want to say it was a masterclass performance because it was. I think that him coming out and fighting the fight he did, showing the speed that he has, the power and the speed behind his punches, I was just shocked. Like I knew he was good, but I just think that every time he's fighting, it might be that in between him fighting, you're always seeing other people fight that don't have his skill level in terms of striking, and so maybe it feels inflated. I don't know. I think that Kyler Phillips has kind of shocked me every time he gets in there recently. He's looking better and better. And I think the way Kyler fought, it was almost like a foreshadowing moment of how Sean was going to fight. The two of them, I think they both fight out of the MMA lab. I think they're close. I don't know if they're best friends, but they definitely are training partners and stuff. And I was just shocked, and well, not necessarily shocked, but just happy to see how much he's improved and how good he's looking. Definitely excited to watch him fight again. That was a great fight. And, he was damn near going to knock out Pedro Munoz, which does not happen historically. So props to him. What is that now? So I got Cutelaba wrong. Let's just sorry guys, I got to go back. We got 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. We got 4-2. Okay, next one. Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael Dos Anjos. This was really hard to watch because Mateusz almost fumbled the bag here. I was very, very, very scared that he was not going to get this one or pull it out. Rafael caught him early in the fight, almost ended the show. Mateusz found his way through, though. The wrestling came through for him. He was able to out-grapple Rafael Dos Anjos and overpower. And ultimately, I think as the fight went on, Mateusz kind of hit like a second wind, if you will. And I really liked the jabs he was throwing out there and catching Rafael with as the fight went on. And it was almost like near the end of the fight, you could see him potentially finishing Rafael with some of those shots. But I think Rafael he'd get caught by that sharp jab. He wasn't necessarily trying to engage. So overall, I definitely think he won the fight, of course, Mateusz, that is. But very scary to watch because, early on, got caught. You're like, fuck, is he going to lose this? He pulls it out. 5-2. Next one. We got Caitlin. I'm trying to call her by her new name. It says Chukagian here. So we got Caitlin Chukagian, Sermonara, I think it is, versus Macy Barber. This kind of went as I expected. I thought that Caitlin Chukagian could definitely have some success on the striking in terms of just keeping distance. And, she, like I said, she's got great kickboxing and has somewhat of a Muay Thai style, but more traditional kickboxing, and she can land those combinations. Macy Barber, though, holy shit. I mean, what a performance from her, because I feel like not only did she do what she normally does in terms of that clinch control, what I've been shocked with watching Macy Barber as she's fought in recent fights, her striking continues to level up, and she throws with bad intentions. And watching that fight, you can just tell the difference, right? Chukagian's throwing very solid, crisp shots. Nothing that's got enough sauce on it, though, to really put the lights out. You could just tell she's not throwing with those type of intentions. It's more of like, I want to hit you, not necessarily to kill you. And Macy Barber wants to flatline whoever is on the receiving end of her punches. I mean, like in some of the scrambling situations when Caitlin was getting back to her feet, Macy would throw with every ounce of her body. Like you could see the hip turn, whole body thrown into these shots, really trying to end the fight, which is something you got to appreciate, watching UFC, and something you need to appreciate when you compare it to other fighters in the UFC, especially those in the heavyweight division. This is a great segue. So where are we at? We're at 5-2. Now we're at 6-2 because I got that one right as well. I chose Macy Barber to win. And what I was saying, Macy trying to end the fights. Now we're going to talk about the heavyweights. Gelton Almeida. What the fuck, man? This guy he would beat the hell out of me. He would fold me up. He'd beat me probably in every area. He'd beat me in striking. He'd beat me in grappling. I'm not a fighter. Now, what I'm happy about in this fight, I chose Curtis Blaydes. I saw basically no one online picking Curtis. And this is where I think that I'm happy with myself, just knowing like I'm somewhat of a student of the game, watching these fights every weekend and really being invested. Curtis Blaydes has fought the who's who of the modern heavyweight era. And Curtis has been the only one within that era to really have a wrestling ground game. The thing that I said about Gelton Almeida from the start is he's not fought a wrestler like him, right? He hasn't fought someone who has a somewhat comparable skill level to him in terms of the wrestling and grappling. Curtis was that match. And where I felt that Curtis was going to get the win is I'm like, Curtis is going to have the defense, I think, to stop Gelton Almeida. And I think Curtis has the power in his hands, given his past performances. He's hurt or knocked out guys flat, cold, like Chris Daukaus. I'm like, Curtis has a chance here, and a very good one at that. I saw most people picking Gelton after the first round. Pretty scared, right? Because Gelton really overpowered in the grappling. But he did nothing. Like, that's what sucks is it's like, so my girlfriend, it's funny, I told her to pick Curtis. And she picked Curtis, but after that during that first round, she was like, just, screaming and like, what the hell is going on? Like, why would you pick him? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, I just kept reminding her, I'm like, if Curtis can, she's like, he can't stop it. He can't stop. I'm like, dude, if Curtis can stop this and get a chance, he's going to, I knew he was going to pull it out. And I think there was something weird in the air because last night was just electric in terms of the picks and just everything happening. So to give you guys perspective, I'm like, we're watching this. Round 2 starts. And what do you know? Jailton does this shit. He shoots the takedown. And right before round 2 started, I had said, like, I know Jailton won that first round, but it's like bullshit. He didn't do anything. He just like hugged him. Like he wasn't trying to do anything. He wasn't even throwing ground and pound. So round 2 starts. I'm like, Curtis, you need to stand your goddamn feet, dude. And what do you know? Jailton shoots for a takedown, but I feel like this sprawl by Curtis was amazing. And obviously watching the playback of it, he does this weird thing where he like hooks under his neck, and it almost looks like he threw like an uppercut, right? But obviously we found out it wasn't that. He was setting up, and this is what I love, and this is why I picked Curtis Blades. When he won this fight, so Jailton goes in, gets there, Curtis gets him in a spot where he can finally land some shots, right? And he just starts hammering his temple. Now, I'm not a fighter, right? But I think people don't understand that, like people that don't watch the sport, people that haven't really like ever been in a fight, like I've been in a fight before, when you get hit in the temple, like, and I even said this to my girlfriend, like just hammer fist your own temple, just like lightly, just to see, right? Because I said this in my past videos. I try to put myself in the fighter's shoes to understand what they go through. So you think about that, right? But coming from a heavyweight who has literally from that position where Curtis was, he has like all of the leverage to drop that hammer fist as hard as he can and with bad intentions. And that's what he did. He landed it like 8 times. And I'm like, oh my God, like he's going to put him out. Like I was like, I started building up. I wish I had video of it because you guys would probably be like, what the fuck's going on? Because I get so into it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going out. He's going out. And then suddenly you see Jailton Almeida literally like turn over. I'm like, oh, he's out. He's out. And then Curtis, I fucking went nuts. And I was screaming. My voice is almost gone. And I was like, I fucking told you, Curtis is going to get the win. And Curtis said at the end of the fight, in his post-fight interview, I don't know exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of like, him and his team saw how Jailton would shoot, right? And when he would shoot, it would be shot in a certain way where he's like, he said some wrestling shit that I don't know wrestling that well, but it sounded really, really smart. And it was also like, I had a clicking moment for myself of like, this is why I picked you, because he understands wrestling. And he was like, when they don't have like the head position or the head control and you're able to control them with your stomach or your body, like that gives you the leverage to stop the takedown and also gives you the leverage to, land shots. It wasn't that, right? I'm paraphrasing, I think. But basically, I chose Curtis for that reason. I thought, this dude's been in there with the who's who. He's fought better strikers and way worse and more powerful, devastating strikers than Jailton. Jailton's not that. And also from a wrestling perspective, Jailton might have a stronger wrestling pedigree and just jiu-jitsu, but the difference is that Jailton's never fought a guy like Curtis who's had that experience edge and also has the strength to stop the overwhelming takedowns that he's able to do. When you watch Jailton's fights, he generally just overpowers guys who aren't grapplers, and they're boring fucking fights unless he gets the finish. But like Derek Lewis' fight was boring as shit, and it wasn't Derek Lewis's fault. It's Jailton's fault. So more power to him. Curtis Blades got the win. Happy for him. Also being from like Chicagoland area, just respect and happy he got that W. Now I talked a lot there, guys. I just need to do a quick check on where I'm at. Let's see. We got 1. I should just write this shit down at this point. 1 wrong, so 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. I believe I got all of the ones on the prelims correct. So 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2 overall. I got everything on the prelim right. Okay, and guys, I went 11-3, it looks like, I think. But we'll see. Getting into the next one, Petr Yan. Maybe Petr Yan. When I was watching the fight, I kept saying, no mercy, Petr Yan. He's going to get the win. And then you got Song Yadong. Now, I was a little worried about this, knowing that Peter's kind of come off some tough losses. But the thing is, I feel like most people look at those fights and they think that Peter's down and out. But it's like he's been in close fights. Like, obviously, the Merab fight, not so much. Like, Merab did what he does, which I think is, I don't know. To me, it's not the best fighting style because it's just like you're not finishing. You're just kind of like, you're dominating, but it's like there's no finishing intentions there. And I don't know how I feel about that. So anyway, Petr comes out. And right off the bat, I'm fucking concerned because, Song Yadong is doing that weird it was actually spectacular to see. He's doing that weird shoot for a takedown, uppercut, landing right on Jan, because Jan's biting it every time. He's going like this and getting ready for the sprawl. But after a while, I think Pewter finds his cadence, finds his distance. And the thing that people forget, especially when you just see videos of people talking about best striker in the UFC and best boxers, this dude's a master of sport in boxing in Russia. I don't actually know all of what that entails. My assumption, and from what I do know, it's a very high accolade to have. And I just think watching Petr Yan, you can tell that he's a cut above the rest in terms of his boxing pedigree. So this fight was actually a great fight. I felt like the back and forth, and then Pewter finding a way to connect on shots, stay safe, right? I love his defense, his high guard. He's always there with that. The one thing that did worry me a bit, Song was catching him quite a bit with the jab, and Song's got a stiff jab in his own right. But what I love from Pewter is like Pewter was able to find the takedowns, and the Pewter Nil Mirsi Yan shows Nil Mirsi. When he gets them down in these positions, the elbows he was throwing, he was trying to fucking end the fight. And you always got to respect that. The guy's a killer. Very happy with his performance overall. It was worrisome at the beginning, but I think he was able to really dominate round 2 and 3 and find a win there. So super happy for him. And he's back in the winning column. And ultimately happy I picked him. So that is now, I forgot again. I think it's 7-2 or 8-2 because we have 9. Yeah. That's 8-2. So the next one, Gilbert Burns, Dorino versus Jack Della Maddalena. I said from the get-go on my other video, I was picking Jack Della Maddalena solely off the fact that I've watched Jack fight on the Contender Series. He's fought in fights where the other person has somewhat of a grappling pedigree. Nothing to the extent of what Gilbert Burns is able to do. But Jack has fought out of so many tough positions grappling-wise, where it's been surprising to me. And the thing that I love about Jack Della Maddalena, the dude is always in the fight, and he's always looking to finish a fight. He doesn't want to go to a judge's decision. In this fight, very worried, right? Because I think Gilbert's landing more than I would expect him to. And Jack is landing shots, but the thing about Jack that makes him a great boxer and great fighter is his patience, right? So when you watch other fighters, they sometimes rush into these positions or rush into things that they shouldn't when they're striking, especially because they think they've hurt their opponent. Maybe their opponent is hurt or they're playing possum, but they rush into certain things that put them in a bad spot. And ultimately, you see a lot of fights end where it's like a great striker rushes that, and then they get put out or they get tapped out, whatever the case may be. And maybe they shouldn't have. Jack, that doesn't happen, because if you watch Jack, he's very calculated. He's very precise on the shots he's throwing and the shot selection overall. But he's just patient. Like, he's not going to go for the kill unless he absolutely has that kill moment or the kill shot. And so what I loved is that Jack was doing that off the bat. Now, as the fight went on, though, I got worried, and my girlfriend was worried too, because just to give you guys a rundown, she had a 12-leg parlay. She got 11 out of 12 correct, which I'm super happy for her on. She ended up winning like $200 because her 12-leg didn't hit, but her 5-leg did. She did very well. But basically what worried me and worried my girlfriend is Jack was not, his patience was almost to a point where it's like, okay, dude, maybe you're being too patient now. Like, maybe you need to find this win. And in typical Jack Della Maddalena fashion, man is down and out, like kind of third round. He's getting out grappled, and he like just finds this Derek Lewis moment to stand up. And dude, Gilbert, I don't know. I love Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert was just desperate at this point because I think he had felt the power of Jack, and I just don't think he wanted to trade on the feet with him. Jack was clearly, the footwork from Jack, the seamless switching from southpaw to orthodox and just landing whatever the fuck he wants. I think Gilbert's like, dude, I can't do this. But he shoots like a very amateur takedown. And like Jack at this point has known the game plan from Gilbert. Jack's knee says "nar," and he hits Gilbert right on the face and drops him. And then he just goes down. And I'm like screaming it because I'm like, he's got this. That knee was huge. He starts throwing elbows. I'm screaming the whole time. And then I'm like worried because I'm like, I think it was Dan Miragliotta. I'm like, dude, why aren't you stopping the fight? Because like throughout the fight, I was getting really pissed too because I felt like Gilbert wasn't doing shit. He like took his back, but didn't do anything. And I'm like, bro, break this up. Like, he's not even trying to advance. He's clearly hanging on for dear life. And then again, I'm like, bro, he is dropping bombs on Gilbert's face and the fight's not being stopped. So I'm getting concerned that, like, this is going to end. The fight's going to end, and not because of a KO. It's going to end because time is running out. Like, there's only 50 some odd seconds left. I'm like, the fight's going to end, and then Gilbert's going to get handed a decision because he fucking rode his back for the whole fight. And then suddenly Jack just gets another win, and he says, nah, mate, and he fucking just lays down that ground and pound to a point where, I mean, if you actually watch the fight, Gilbert was laying in the octagon like far after, even after Jack had done his post-fight speech. Like, Gilbert was hurt. And a lot of people are saying that stoppage, I think it was definitely late, but who knows the extent of how late and how much damage that Gilbert really endured, perhaps after he was already out. But dude, like, come on, man. I mean, I get it. Gilbert's a beast. Lots of respect for Gilbert, but like, dude, you got to know when to save the fighter. I feel like he took too much damage there. But so happy Jack won. That brings me to 9-2 for my picks. Next fight, Kevin Holland, Michael Page. So this is when my girlfriend chose Michael Page, not knowing too much about him, but chose him. And I was happy for her. I am like one of the biggest fans of Kevin Holland. I've been a fan of him since he was on Contender Series the first time. I think he went on twice. Big fan of him though. Watch all of his fights. Never in a dull fight. Well, the Jack Della Maddalena fight wasn't that impressive, but Kevin Holland's a G, man. Like, the dude's a fucking G. I just respect his overall game, his striking. And so I chose Kevin Holland to win this fight because I'm like, yo, Kevin Holland, when he's all in and he's tapped in, he's got this. Like, he could land any shot he can land any shot. The shots that he usually lands with could put you out. And then he's got the ground game, right? So I thought that in a situation like Kevin could hurt Michael Venom Page and he could get that submission. Or as I said, he could be defensive with it, right? Like, he could find moments where maybe he's hurt, he needs to lean on it, and he can then pull him to the ground and maybe get a submission. So I chose Kevin Holland, but Michael Venom Page clearly showed like he is a level above in terms of the striking. And I think, it was a frustrating fight for Kevin Holland overall. Now, what's funny is, like, my girlfriend chose Michael Page, and she was like so nervous, like, she was like yelling at the TV, like saying, stop, telling Michael Venom Page to stop doing his fighting style, like with his hands down and shit and being cocky. And I'm like, dude, this is this guy's style. This is how he fights. You're not going to change how he fights. Like, this is how he does it. Now, obviously, I did think I was a little worried for her because I'm like, if Kevin, lands that straight right, that his patented straight right where he completely flatlined several people, but he really hurt Joaquin Buckley with, right? Knocked his mouthpiece out. You're like, if Kevin lands that, like, he could go out. But Michael Venom Page, I mean, I was just, like, honestly shocked with his striking ability. I've watched his highlights, and I know he's good, but, the unfortunate aspect with this is that as a UFC fan, there is this notion that Bellator, these other organizations just are not at the level of UFC, right? So you watch Michael Venom Page's previous highlights almost with an asterisk of like, okay, but like, does it mean anything, right? Like, you land these great KOs, but like, against who, right? And it's not meant to be disrespectful, but it's just that is kind of how the UFC and just MMA community looks at this. Clearly, people need to stop feeling this way because, I mean, time and time again, we had Michael Chandler come over and KO Dan Hooker, and then you have Michael Chandler kind of go on to have really great fights and be a very entertaining fighter. Michael Venom Page did the same thing. And I don't know, like I didn't pick Michael Venom Page. I feel like my pick for Kevin Holland made sense. And also I'm a fan of Kevin Holland. So like I'm going Kevin Holland no matter what. But I think from a choosing perspective, I maybe should have done a little more research on Michael Venom Page. I know how good he was, but I just thought, Kevin Holland had way more avenues. But I just think he just had an off night. And I think also the style matchup, right? He was not adjusting well to how Michael Venom Page was moving around the cage. And also Michael Venom Page was landing heavy shots and also creative shots. That spinning elbow that he landed a few times was just stupendous. So props to him. Very happy for both guys. I know Kevin Holland did go out there. He tried to do what he could. And Kevin Holland, I just think, no matter what, Michael Venom Page is a great fighter. So it's like Kevin Holland didn't lose any stock, in my opinion. He can still go out there and have a run of his own. So just keep at it, bro. that brings me to 9-3. I do think Michael Venom Page should fight Wonder Boy. I think it'd be a beautiful fight. Both guys have that karate type blitz style where they kind of strike, and it's awesome that he's called Michael Venom Page because he does strike kind of like a cobra, right? Like he's like in and out. So watching him and Wonder Boy would be great because it'd almost be like a masterclass in striking, and we'd kind of get to see who gets the better of who. Age, Wonder Boy is not on the same page as Michael Venom Page, but not far off. Like it's like 40 to 36. So it would just be a beautiful fight. And I don't think Wonder Boy's ever in a boring fight unless he's just getting grappled to death by a Bilal Muhammad. It's not of his own doing. I just think some fighters want to lay on top of others. 9-3 though. Here we go. I got the rest of my picks right? So next one, Dustin, the Diamond Poirier, and Benoit Saint Denis. I said, and I think when I look online, and I don't think I saw a lot of creators and stuff choosing Poirier. I was a little shocked. I felt like I was doing something wrong or maybe thinking about it wrong, but I've watched Poirier pretty much. I've watched every fight of his since I started watching UFC, and I've also gone back and watched almost every fight of his. As you can see on my channel, I have an entire compilation of all of his finishes. Dustin's a fucking dog. And I was shocked to see how many people did not pick him in winning this fight because the dude has the most experience. He really hasn't been KO'd that much in terms of like, okay, there's KOs, right? But then there's like KOs where you get caught. I feel like if you watch a lot of Dustin's fights, most of the time he got KO'd. He just got caught, right? Now, sometimes poor defense perhaps, but like the head kick that he just got knocked out with by Justin Gaethje, I didn't think that was a devastating KO. Like, if you watch that over, he got caught, and Herb Dean, I think, stepped in. He should have stepped in. The fight was over. But Dustin was there. He was still there, and he was still, like, right after, he, like, knew what happened, and you could just tell he was, like, it was, like, the seasoned vet approach. Like, he just stayed on the ground for a bit, because he's like, I know I just got fucking rocked, just hanging out here. It wasn't a devastating KO like Volk's KO with Islam, where you're like, okay, shit. This is pretty soon. And also he had time off, right? Dustin shaved his head for this, which was another, like, I don't know, man. There's like a mythical fighter there, right? And like you got the mythical fighter of Dustin pulling the shorts up. Like he's already doing that no matter what. But Benoit Saint Denis, he's younger. He's had great fights. But dude, if you compare the resumes, who has been beat that you can definitively say he's going to like mop the floor with Dustin Poirier? I just could never say it. That's why I didn't say it. And I said Dustin needs to survive early, right? I did think, I was scared that Benoit could maybe land a heavy shot and put him out. But I'm like, bro, Dustin has that boxing where, the knockout that he got on this dude was just the classic DP KO. I mean, you got him against the fence, and he just starts finding the combos. And when he finds the combos, he's hitting every shot. Everything's landing. And I was just, dude, when this fucking win happened, this is where I full on lost my voice last night. I was straight screaming, like, he's got him, because he's got him against the cage. He had escaped all of these, and he heard him like coming in in the second round for a takedown. He caught him with a clean uppercut, drops him, and then he gets that momentum. And dude, once Dustin Poirier's got that momentum, you better fucking run because he's gonna connect. When he connects, you're going out. One of the most spectacular knockouts I've seen, and just made me so happy because as a fan of this, we all know how this can go, especially being now I'm being a creator on YouTube and posting videos of my picks. We all know how it can go in MMA. You can have a night where you think you got the best picks and you get most of them wrong, or vice versa. But this pick, for me, I felt good about because it was like my Curtis Blades one where I saw lots of folks picking opposite, and for good reason. In this case, I was able to apply like my own background and understanding of the sport and just the fighters in general to a level where it actually allowed me to make an informed decision and actually come out with the right result. And I'm just so proud of Dustin Poirier. I am one of his biggest fans. So shout out to El Diamante. What a fucking finish, man. And I just hope he keeps fighting because I think the world is his oyster. And I do think that if Dustin can survive those grappling situations where someone might be overpowering, similar to like Khabib, or even if he fights Islam, he is a bitch to deal with for 5 rounds. And Dustin gets you against the cage, and he starts doing those combos, if you see Dustin Poirier lift his shorts up and your back's against the cage, you might as well fucking tap, because he will find the fucking kill shot and you're going out. Just so much respect for DP. And I love what he said about, veterans and stuff right after the fight. Like, knowing that Benoit Saint Denis is a veteran himself, just a lot of respect there, and just so happy for the guy. So shout out to Dustin. That was awesome. All right, guys. That, like I said, that's 10-3 now. On to my final pick. And this is why my girlfriend's upset. So to give you guys a quick rundown, she would have hit for like $3,000 or something if she got her 12-leg parlay. Anyways, Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera, she chose Cheeto Vera. And I said this to her, I'm like, look, you chose Cheeto, and like that's the reason why it would have been $3,000, because he was a big underdog. I am a huge Sean O'Malley fan, always have been. He fights out of Arizona. Love that dude. I told her, like, dude, I want Sean to win, but I'm like, if it means you getting $3,000, I'll pull for Cheeto because I want you to win, right? Like that directly affects us, But dude, Sean put on a fucking masterclass. That's what it was. Sean's always, the reason I pick Sean, if you watch my video when I talked about picking Sean, I just said he's dialed in, and like he's dialed into a level that is just unmatched in most fighters, right? Like, even when you watch the Countdown and Embedded, you got Sean in a fucking Sprinter van because he's like, I need that extra 30 minutes per day so that I can study and get better and learn like holes, and just, he's always watching this shit. And I think then you see Cheeto driving. It was no fucking shade to Cheeto. I fucking love Cheeto at the same time, and I felt horrible for him because he's a good dude. But there's just different levels in this. Sean is clearly like, he lives and breathes like every element of the sport. And I know Cheeto does too, he lives and breathes it, but like Sean is like, the way he moves around the cage it was mind-boggling to watch how he was just using Cheeto as a fucking Sentry Bob, dude. Like, he was beating the way Sean was landing on Cheeto last night is like when I fucking do my boxing workouts on Bob. Like, I feel like Sean O'Malley, like this motherfucker's getting hit with everything, but he can't throw back. That's how it fucking felt. And just the way Sean was able to move around the cage, switch stances, and the speed of his just strikes overall was astounding. And right off the bat, in round one, if you watch it back, because I remember watching just thinking, holy shit, like Sean lands like maybe one or two body shots, and Cheeto's stomach and like liver area already like dark red, like it's red. Like, he's taking some damage. And Sean's he's going anywhere he wants. He's hitting them in the stomach. Then he's getting them in the face. He's hitting them with like crisp combinations. And they're not just like a 1-2. It's like a 1-2-3. He's tagging the fuck out of him. And it's a clinic. It's a masterclass. Then he hits him with that knee where like we were all laughing. That knee was so devastating. And like, how the fuck is Cheeto standing? I was really worried that Cheeto's orbital was broken. And I was super worried that he was staying in the fight, because I'm like, this could be devastating. It could kill him if he gets hit with a certain amount of shots, right? He stayed in there though. But when Joe Rogan said, and this is like Joe has said some dumb shit, but I fucking love when he said, it sounds like a bat hitting a watermelon. Because there was no better way to put that. And I think that's where you got to give Joe Rogan some credit, because that is a perfect analogy for what it sounded like. And just to go from that to just beating the shit out of Cheeto for 5 rounds. Of course, all the respect to Cheeto. I love Sean as a fighter, but all the respect to Cheeto because he's a great fighter. He's fucking durable. He's just got no quit in him, and I respect the fucking hell out of him. But, dude, you guys need to stop. Then this is for the people that hate on Sean O'Malley. You guys need to stop finding every reason to bitch and complain and say that he is not what he really is, because Sean O'Malley has never been in a boring fight in the UFC. Like, go watch every fight of his. He's never been in a boring fight. He's always looking for the finish. I said this, and I know Tim said it in one of the when he was in the corner, but I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, dude, at the end of round 3, I was like, Sean can just coast right now. He can literally just skate around the outside. Cheeto ain't winning this fight. Like, by optics, there's no way in hell he was winning the fight. And then Tim said the same shit. And Sean's still trying to finish the fight the entire time. And so, like, so many people just disrespect him and think that, like, things were handed to him. Like, dude, he has shown time and time again why he's at the top. And I know everyone wants him to fight Merab. Sure. look, my opinion, I think Merab's a great fighter. He is like a style that most would just get melted under, right? But the one thing you have to fucking say, like Merab has a boring fighting style because it's like, sure, you dominate, right? You take people down 80 times, you fucking punch them a little bit. And most of the guys, when he's done, they're broken, right? They're broken, like their spirit is broken because they just got like walked on. But he doesn't finish the fight. And I don't think he tries to. And I think that that's my biggest gripe about watching him. Look, he has a personality. He's funny as hell. And I respect the fuck out of Merab. I just think that Sean versus Merab is like, I still will pick Sean because people are giving so much credit to Merab's like ability to take people down and stuff. But like, I don't see Merab finishing Sean anywhere. Like, I think the worst thing that will happen is he takes Sean down a bunch and like, that's where it ends, right? Like, it's just, he gets taken down a bunch and maybe loses the decision. But I see Sean catching him on the chin. Now, at the same time, I'm not sitting here to say Merab doesn't deserve this. He absolutely deserves a title shot. But I also don't like that I'm seeing a lot of Merab dick riders. I'm not seeing as many Corey Sandhagen ones. And I feel Corey Sandhagen is just as deserving of that title shot. I would give it to Merab over Corey by the sole fact that Corey's gotten that chance to fight for the title, the interim title, that is. Now, you could argue, obviously, it's because Dana felt a certain type of way. I don't like that. I get that Aljo and Merab are best buds, and that's great. But I think Dana felt like he was kind of sitting trying to just wait out a title shot, and he's like, you're not going to get that. And so Corey deserved that title shot, and right now Corey is right in the running to get that title shot. Also, Corey versus Sean, I think presents a lot more problems for Sean than Merab does because I just don't think Merab has a way to finish Sean. I just don't. I really don't think he can finish Sean. I don't think he's going to finish him with strikes. He doesn't really go for a submission from what I've seen. I just don't think he's going to finish him. And I think Sean's jiu-jitsu and ground game, it's not talked about enough, but like Tim, his coach is like a total like he's devoted his life to this shit and he's totally a nerd about jiu-jitsu. Like the guy loves it, breathes it. He is like obsessed with rolling. Like they do it together all the time. I really feel like Sean would actually prove to be pretty strong in the grappling on the ground. He just hasn't had a chance to show it and he's not going to. Why do it if you can outstrike the fuck out of your opponent? I just think Sean has a lot of ways to catch Merab, especially that like Henry Cejudo almost knocked Merab out. Like if you watch that last fight, Merab clearly won the fight dominantly. But in that fight, I think it was the first round, Henry caught him with a hard shot where Merab's head shot back, his eyes rolled back. He could have been out if it was a Sean O'Malley shot. If Sean O'Malley lands like that on you, unless you're Cheeto Vera, are you really going to survive it? Time will tell on that one. I feel like this UFC right now could go either way. I'm not a big fan of the whole, like, I'm going to try and just shoot up a division, right? Because you got Ilya Topuria saying he's not going to fight anyone in featherweight and he's going to move up to lightweight. Yeah, whatever, dude. I disagree with that. At the same time, though, I don't fault Ilya because it's like, Yair just lost. Him and Yair have had some, like, back and forth shit. Yair just lost, though. Like, who the fuck is he going to fight? Because Movsar Evloev is, like, one of the most boring fighters that we've all watched. Ilya ain't going to fight him. Like, why? He's not deserving of it. Even Dana White said, dude, like, your performances, you've won, but you think you deserve a title shot for that? Like, Dana's not into it. And when Dana's not into it, it usually doesn't happen. I think, even in that case, too, I just think that Ilya is going to get that win over Movsar. Like, I really do. So, taking a look at all of that, I think that there is this perfect scenario where even though a lot of people are not into it, Sean O'Malley going up to fight Ilya isn't the worst thing in the world. Just off the sole fact that the featherweight division is in a spot where it's like, it's uncertain, right? Like, I don't want Volk to come back soon. I want him to take time. He deserves that rematch, but I want him to come back after he's had some time off. So right there, you got Volk out of the picture. Arnold Allen's up there. Like, I fuck with Arnold Allen, but like off the sole fact that, obviously the win was controversial. He did lose to Evloev. So it's like, does he deserve that title shot? I don't know. I do think that he presents some problems for Ilya because he has a really good chin and he has power himself. I feel like Max Holloway, though, has been kind of left out of this equation, but mainly because Max Holloway is going up to lightweight and fighting at UFC 300. Max could stay there. Now, the one thing that I dislike about Ilya's rise. He's had great fights, great wins, and respect to him as a champ. Like he did this. He did the whole Conor McGregor thing. Like, I'm gonna do this, and he did it. So like, so much respect for that. The one thing I don't like though is he didn't have to go through Max Holloway. And if you look at every career, Yair Rodriguez was stopped by Max Holloway. Trajectory up, 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 up. He gets in there with Max Holloway. He didn't lose by a finish, but he got outclassed. And that's what happens. Max Holloway's kind of been this, like, he's been a force to be reckoned with in that division, only lost to the champ, and styles make fights. Just because Ilya finds the KO shot on Volk, it does not mean he's going to on Max. And Max doesn't get KO'd. He's never been KO'd. And like, I know that at some point someone, a fighter's chin goes away, but he's never been KO'd. And the dude has a fucking style that is just horrible to be around. Like, you don't want to fight a guy who's like Max. He's fucking throwing everything at you the whole time and he's not stopping. I just think Max versus Ilya is a great matchup for both guys. I think it's a great style matchup. And I think Max can get that win. Now, it's not to say that he would win. I just think he could. Because if you really think about it, Volk versus Ilya was a great fight. And Volk looked fantastic in the early going of the fight. Like, the thing that worried everybody is the way that Volk backs up. He's got his chin high, and that's what got him caught. But he was kind of outclassing Ilya in a lot of areas until Ilya just, he went balls to the wall and did what he did. All I'm getting at here is I think that from a featherweight division standpoint, there's not much there right now that's really enticing for Ilya or, pay-per-view wise. And given that he's got this star power, the UFC could have a just massive event by having Sean O'Malley, Ilya headline an event in Spain especially, but I think they could go anywhere. It'd be a big fucking fight because both guys present this weird area of like, Sean has the range, the length on Ilya. Ilya has this skill set that is second to none from a striking boxing perspective and can find that kill shot, but Sean has it as well. And dude, that would just be a fucking masterclass performance, I feel like, for either one of them. I think they both, and I honestly, being a Sean fan, I would go for Sean, especially because he's American as well. But I cannot say with 100% certainty he's going to get the win because Ilya Topuria has that skill level and he has that one-shot KO power. And I think that given that also Sean he did receive a bad liver shot at the end, the fight with Cheeto, which obviously he's 5 rounds, right? So a body shot that you're not expecting. And also Sean didn't even need to be in the pocket at that point. What worries me about that is Ilya has that boxing style and also those body shots that he's able to mix into his combinations. He could hurt Sean with that body shot. And I think Ilya is probably taking note of that. So if Sean, in their fight, if they do fight, can keep that distance like he did with Cheeto and just find and pick his shots well, we haven't really seen Ilya's chin tested by many fighters. Obviously, he almost got KO'd by Jai Herbert, one of the hardest head kicks I've ever seen. He fucking got sat down with that and he came back from it. So, he's got a chin for sure. But, I do think if Sean and Ilya fight, Sean's going to have to find that kill shot sooner rather than later just because unless Sean's able to pace his striking, I feel like Sean, the way he fights, he's just an exciting fighter. He does not in a boring fight. He wants to finish a fight. So he fucking throws too much. To a point where you're like, I get worried for him because he's broken his hands, right? And I think a couple fights now, especially last night too, he's just throwing too much for his body's own good. His body can't handle the amount of strikes he's out throwing and also the power within those strikes. And I think that's why, he's breaking bones and shit. The guy is I saw people online saying some shit about Cheeto. Some dumbass said that Cheeto won 2, 3, or 2, 4, and 5. What the fuck are you watching? Don't even, you might be joking and trolling. If you have a comment like that, stop watching UFC and MMA. Just don't fucking watch it because it's honestly embarrassing that you would make a comment of that nature. And then another person goes, I don't really think it was a clinic if you leave the octagon in a hand wrap or a foot thing. It's bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Sean O'Malley left with a brace and a broken hand because of the damage he did to the guy he's fighting. It's not because Sean got caught by something or the other fight. He literally fucking broke his own bones hitting that other person so many times. So if you're going to sit here and act like he didn't put on a fucking clinic because he broke a bone, because he fucking used that bone to batter another human being, I don't know if this sport is for you. That's just my opinion. You should maybe watch some other fucking shit. I don't know what to tell you, but like these comments I see, and look, I feel like I get baited into some of this shit because I will comment on that, on stuff like that, because I love this sport, and I feel like people need to give respect when it's due. Now, maybe I need to take my own advice. I feel a certain type of way about certain fighters, but I do try to pay that respect when it's due. And at the end of the day, like I said, I respect every fighter that gets in the octagon because it is a fucking grueling sport. And just to have the balls to get in there is more than most people could ever even dream of. So I do respect every fighter. I'm rambling. At this point, I just want to say Sean O'Malley had a masterclass performance. Hopefully Cheeto bounces back, but they should never fight again because Sean clearly proved this is not a fluke. He put on one of the best performances that I think anyone in the UFC history has put on as their first title defense. And I think what I am sad about is that a lot of fans are talking shit and they're finding ways to like discredit Sean instead of just realizing the greatness and also appreciating the performance he put on, because we have not seen a title defense of that quality without a finish for him to dominate in the way he did for fucking 25 minutes. It really has not happened in a long time. Like Israel Adesanya really even hasn't had performances of that nature ever from a 25-minute domination perspective. Like he's had some boring fights where it's kind of like pitter patter and he's running on the outside. He's not had like that brutal of a back and forth, like not even back and forth, a brutal like just throwing these shots at a punching bag type fighter and just outclassing them completely. Like obviously he's had, I'm just saying over 25 minutes, I don't think we've seen that caliber of striking and the amount of significant strikes differential overall, like triple. I think Sean more than tripled Cheetos. So where I'm headed with this is just that Sean, you guys got to give him some respect. And I feel like right now it could go either way. He could defend against Merab or he could go up and fight Ilya. I'm happy with either one. I think that Merab deserves a title shot. Time will tell what happens. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Please subscribe below to keep up with some more MMA content. Going to be posting videos each week and just keeping up with the MMA community. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.